What's up?
Yo, I've been requesting for like 50 hours.
For real? You know
request,
what?
request, 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 request. I'm here. I'm
I'm,
here.
I was trying to pin the comment, so I was
It's
go
okay.
scrolling up in order to pin it. So I can.
Yeah,
Do you forgive me?
absolutely. Come on
Good,
now.
good, good.
Oh, let me
Let
get
me
my little
let me get
bootleg.
it a little closer to my natural level here. I was a little higher up at first.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you see me okay? Because I'm kind of doing
No,
this real innovative.
no, I think you're great. You're always great. Um, so first of all, I appreciate you doing this for me.
Of course,
Um,
my pleasure.
yeah, it's been a very interesting ride so far. Every time I've spoken to someone, it's been an amazing experience. Each one is different, so I'm
Yeah,
excited to have your presence all over the
absolutely.
phone.
I'm
Um,
excited to be doing it.
cool. So let's dive in a little bit.
Okay.
Um, so were you born in Cleveland? Yes or no? That's what the internet said. You were?
The internet is correct. It's very correct.
So were you just born there and you moved somewhere else, or did you
I was
actually grow?
just born there till maybe like 3 or 4 years old, and then my family moved to some suburbs of Chicago, and then we moved to the south side of Chicago, and I was there until like eighth grade, and then my family moved to Atlanta, and I've been here ever since. So yeah, Cleveland, Chicago. So I'm a Midwestern girl at heart, but a Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Southern isms is here all day.
Well, I will. Whew, okay, I'm good. I'm from Cincinnati, and I was like, man, if she grew
Oh,
up in Cleveland,
that's crazy,
you
man.
know.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
my dad is still there. He's in Emoting
Really?
right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
literally.
And then the South Side of Chicago, you just casually threw that in there.
Yeah, man. South
Oh
side on
yeah,
it.
instant credibility.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'm gangster.
yeah.
Got my gangster cred from Chicago for real though.
Let me ask you then, where do you feel most connected to? Is it just by default down here, or do you feel a connection to a Chicago? Are there certain things
Okay.
that connect you to it?
When I first moved to Atlanta, I was heartbroken because my parents took me out of the school that I was at, and I was like, I'm not gonna get to graduate with them. I was just, a teenage girl. All of those emotions, just
Yeah,
you can already imagine. I cried the entire way. Here, it was like the most devastating thing. However, I used to rep Chicago so heavy when I first moved here, like all the time. I still rep the Chi, like that's my home. That's
yeah,
my first home. But Atlanta, man,
yeah.
Atlanta is home right now. Like people
Okay.
always ask me, do I see myself moving to LA or New York or anywhere? And I feel like I travel enough to where I can come back and really appreciate Atlanta for what it is. Like it's just home right now, and I don't see myself anywhere else unless something really, really crazy has to happen for me to like up and move. But yeah, Atlanta's home.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I wanted to know then, what do you get out of Atlanta that makes you, you know, love it so much?
To me, I think it's like the best of both worlds. I love the city. I love, I grew up in the city when I was in Chicago. And so, but I also like being able to have a choice to be removed if I want to be. You know what I'm saying? And the area that I'm in is very centrally located. It's far enough to where you don't feel like, oh my God, there's just people everywhere and congested, whatever. But I just get on the highway right quick and I'm in the city if I want to be. So I like options.
Yeah.
I like to have options. I like to, be able to come and go as I please. And yeah, there's just something about when I first moved down here, I picked up on the Southern hospitality. I picked up on everybody speaking to everybody because that doesn't really happen up north,
Right.
Midwest, not really, definitely not LA. So it was just something I liked about it. Like the most random person will just stop and ask you how you are, and like they're really serious about it. So everyone waves.
Yeah.
I really like that part. So yeah, I
Is
can
it
do it.
How is it for you then when you're in a northern city or a city with a different type of vibe other than that? Does it, you
Well,
kind of,
I just put on the mentality like, hey, you're in another place, so don't expect the southern hospitality here. Now, mind you, I'm a I'm a polite person, so if I
yeah,
see somebody like, I'm not gonna have this standoffish vibe, like unless I need to. But you know, basically, you get the energy that you put out, no matter where you go. Some
yeah.
places you can't avoid the craziness, but for the most part, I tend to put out good vibes on purpose, so I plan to receive those. And if I don't, I just keep moving.
I would say you do a great job of that. Like,
Well, thank
I was,
you.
I was thinking earlier, I was like, man, I was like, I can't imagine Chantae ever getting in trouble growing up.
Oh, child.
Did you?
We came a long way, honey. Now listen, I had a little brother, and he was the troublemaker. He was the troublemaker. I mean, typical troublemaker child.
Yeah,
So they had their hands full with him, but some of those times that would kind of, because the attention was always on him doing what he's doing. There were times when I was like, all right, well then I'm finna see what's in this for me, what's in this mischievous life for me. But I definitely got in trouble. But I did like to follow the rules, and I did like to like be good
yeah.
for the most part, like in school and stuff. I was like, guys, stop talking.
Okay,
Y'all gonna get in
okay.
trouble.
I see. I can
But
see you in that.
I didn't necessarily voice that, but because I was such a super introverted, shy child, but I felt that way a lot.
So being, I too have an experience with being timid
Mm-hmm.
at a younger age, but I
Which
had so much inside. There was so much inside of me.
crazy.
Right.
Made you feel like he was crazy, huh?
So connecting that, people always find it strange to connect that
Yep.
root with doing something like performing of any sort, much less singing, because there's a level of vulnerability that you
Yep.
do have to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was that? Was there a moment in your early development that kind of gave you the confidence to start opening up in that way?
Okay. So there were moments and there were people. Um, so when I was in high school, I started going to this youth group at my church, and somebody told on me that that I could sing. And so
Mm.
they made me like audition for this praise team, and I sung in front of the lady who was over it, and she was like, "Oh, you can sing." She was like giving me parts and stuff, and I was like giving it back to her verbatim, like the
Yeah,
Maddie Moss situation. And
yeah,
she was
yeah.
like, "Do do do do," because not only what did I love music, and not only did I knew I had a voice, but I knew I was obsessed with sound. I knew I was obsessed with like hearing certain things, pulling certain harmonies. Like it just came so naturally to me, like just drinking water, music, music, music. My mom was a music teacher at the school that I went to, so it was really embedded in me. So I joined the praise team outside of my will, but
Okay.
it was one of the best things that I could have ever done because it really pushed me to get comfortable. And the lady, I'm saying lady because I thought she was much older than she was, but Miss Ametria slash Mimi Doc, she was like my
Wow.
first big sister figure. Took me under her wing and basically showed me everything that she knew. And I lacked in confidence and creativity, and she literally like just pulled it out of me, and like we would just do certain things, like before she was an official vocal coach, which she is right now.
Yeah.
um she just took me under her wing, and I studied under her, and I later became over the music department at the church. And I, at a very young age, which was so terrifying. I was like, what on earth am I
Wow.
doing right now? I have no idea what's happening, but I
Yeah.
was supposed to be doing that. And so that allowed me to get comfortable in my element and knowing different atmospheres. And so around that time, I also started going to Apache Cafe. I had to sneak in because I was not old enough. That was before
Yes.
they started carding. And so I would go out with the big kids to Apache Cafe, and I was still terrified, but I was like, "Whoa, this live music element, like being in the moment, it really, really helped me. Like that was my safe place. Like any other time I was uneasy, but when I was the most settled, when I was on stage, connecting with other musicians and other singers, and in those spontaneous moments of, you know, improvisation and all that stuff. So that
Yeah.
kind of shaped me and gave me more confidence, and I was like addicted to being in that musical conversation. So the more and more I did it, you know, I made friends and we kind of vibed off of each other, and iron sharpens iron. So I was just surrounded by everything that I loved, and so, you know, I took it and gained a lot from it, and was much stronger because of it. Hopefully, I answered your question, because I
Of
be
course you did.
I gotta get me back on track.
Of course you did. Of course you did. I wanted to know, with your mom being a music teacher,
Yes.
what do you like? We all, I guess, when we think about it, we have our first memories of like commercial music that we really gravitated towards.
Hmm.
I was curious if you had any songs that just instantly remind you of your childhood and what that connection might be.
Ooh, okay. This is kind of crazy, but I can remember one of my first favorite songs. Um, Two of them off top. One of them is Tevin Campbell, Tomorrow Will Bring Better You, Better Me. Woo, that Quincy Jones boy.
Yeah.
Man, it just made me feel away. I felt just great, just wonderful. And the other other song is Sensitivity.
Woo!
It was something about those changes. I was
Oh
in like
yeah.
either 5 or 6, like sensitivity. And I was like, why do I like this? I couldn't even articulate it at the time, but it was just
Yeah.
something about those changes that I gravitated towards. And
Love it.
I'm Your Baby Tonight by Whitney Houston. That was a good one too.
Wow.
Yeah, it
I
was
could
just
like the sensitivity connection.
man.
Soon as those first like 2 or 3 chords, you need a oh,
And they went back to it. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's crazy. It's like the
yeah.
simplest move, but it just hits you in that place. I'm like, I don't know what the song is about. I don't even care, but I love this.
That's what's up. I wanted to say what's up to people in Panama. They're saying what's up to you, so I don't want to
Hi,
forget.
Panama, Panama. Dios te bendiga. Hola.
I wanted to dive into some technique questions for you.
All right.
Yes, because I don't know if you know, but people look up to you, in a way
Oh,
of study. It's admiration. You know what I mean?
very
My
sweet.
myself included. So I
Aww.
I
Very
I
crazy.
want listen. I wanted to talk about practice,
Okay.
because a lot of times, I guess, when you really love something, practice, you don't even look at it as practice.
Absolutely.
you know. But I think, I guess, after you get to a certain point, especially when you start to pursue it in more of a profession,
Yep.
you pursuing it seriously, and there's certain demands, uh, there is a need for practice.
Absolutely.
What does that look like after you get to the point where you're getting into those mastery hours? What does practice look like for that? I've heard different things from different people.
Yeah, that's a great question. I used to not be good at uh I used to not be good at having a practicing regimen. And I'll say that because I was singing all the time. Like I could not
Got you.
sing. You know what I'm saying? So it was almost like I was practicing. My voice was more warmed up just on the whim. And I had people around me. Once again, we had like little vocal sheds, and I was learning and giving and like pulling and pushing. So it was this whole conglomerate of things that were happening vocally all the time, just involuntarily, you know? And so, yes, throughout the years, you do find yourself in a position where it's like, hey, you may not necessarily have these people around you just with the call of with the drop of a dime. You have
Yeah.
to make it happen for yourself. And so I noticed the more I started traveling, the more I started touring, the more downtime I needed. So I I didn't have the same access to the same circle just like I used to. And so I noticed a huge difference in my voice, and I was like, man, I need to be singing. I need to be practicing. I need to be at least warming up. I need to be like doing
Right.
the work for real, because it doesn't stop. Like, even no matter what your area of expertise is, no matter what level you get to, there's always going to be maintenance. You're going to be in a different place. And so I noticed my voice changing. Um, I forget what years it was, but I was like, man, my voice is really different right now. It does not sound like it did, you know, those years. So I'm like, I need to do something to help maintain it and make the transition a little more smooth, especially when I'm not on the road to when I am. So, um, the funny thing is, I did take a couple sessions with my sister, Amitria Doc.
Oh, right,
She
right.
always gets you right, boy.
Yep,
But if I'm
perfect.
not there in person, um, I I have to make my warm ups fun for me. So
Okay.
sometimes I listen to Shaka Khan like right before a show, or sometimes I'll listen to stuff that I want to sing along to, because if I view it as, oh my God, I have to do this little thing, then it might not be as fun and I might not want to do it. But I'm so psychological and so emotional to where I have to make it a pleasing thing. Like, oh yeah, I love this song. I love, some songs just make you want to sing. And so they pull it
Yeah.
out of you. And so I just kind of jam around to those, and trying to keep up with the like technical exercises. I have some vocal rhythm exercises that I do work on, actually, that I'm crafting for
Okay.
rhythm and vocals workshop, which I guess I could talk about that. It's like I want to show people how important rhythm is, not just for musicians but for singers especially. That's one thing that I think I experiment with the most. I know I'm a very rhythmical singer. I like singing in odd meters. I love, switching it up. I love making my brain work and, having a challenge. And so I've kind of been, to me as a singer, it broadened my horizons a lot, and it just gave me more paintbrushes to work with.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that kind of gets lost when you do vocal lessons. You work on tone, and you work on blending, you work on breathing and performing and stamina, but rhythm is very equally, if not more important than a lot of those things. So you can have, what's the saying? You can have melody without rhythm, but not rhythm without melody. One of those. Anyways, it's just making a statement that, the rhythm came first
Yeah.
and the melody.
That's what's up.
So anyway,
You said something about where you gotta want, like, you wanna something that you wanna warm up with or sing to.
yeah.
And I'm curious to dive into that when it comes to emoting and emoting under circumstances where you yourself aren't necessarily
Mm.
the most happy, let's say, or the
Yeah.
most enthusiastic. How
Hmm.
do you still emote, text to your audience to still make sure
Yep.
they have an experience with you?
This is true. So I try to treat everything as, hey, this is a service that you're doing, and you sometimes have to put your little feelings to the side. It could be very warranted. It could be very real and very, like your truth. But there's just something about, like, when I hit the stage, when I'm in that mode, when I'm connecting to my musicians, when I know I have something to do and something that people need. Like, we both need something from each other, because right now, I need to be healed of whatever I'm got going on. And sometimes it kind of works in tandem, like, it's give and give. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Give and receive situation is very equal. And so sometimes that's enough to snap me out of it and make me go to my happy place and my safe place. And so I'll be like, you know what? I appreciate y'all just as much as you got. I appreciate y'all appreciating what I'm doing, or like appreciating my artistry that is genuine and heartfelt from my heart. That's like the biggest compliment, people connecting with something that you create or that you're moving through. So that kind of makes me, you know, that kind of gives me some relief sometimes if I'm not necessarily in the most stable headspace.
Wow. Shout out to Cape Town, South Africa.
Shout
Tune in.
out. I love South Africa. I can't wait to come back.
I
It's
know,
been
right? South
way
Africa is
really
awesome.
fun. I love
I've
it.
only been once, and I went to
Yeah,
Johannesburg, and I had a great time.
me too. It was like a decade ago, child. So I gotta go. I would love to
Yeah.
go back. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Um, when it comes to creating, then
Mm-hmm.
I feel a sense of, free, let's like a free spirit about you musically.
Mm-hmm.
How is it then to focus in on a particular element of that freedom? You know what I'm saying? Is there a way that you normally tap into your ideas that you might have to get that one idea that you want to work on, or how does it happen for you?
I'm like okay, what do you call it? I feel like I'm tapped into a certain frequency at all times, right? So if something comes by and sparks it, I'll hold on to it. I'll think about it. I'm like, oh, I need to save this for later. I'll do a quick voice memo on my phone. And then sometimes I'll come back to something like weeks later, a month later. I've come back to things that I've written like 7 and 5 years ago, and been like, now's the time for this because I'm in a different headspace. I'm more evolved. I'm more, experienced, and I know a little bit more what I want now. So it's cool to go back and just see something that I had an idea about way, way back in the day, and to bring it to fruition is really, really, it's a cool thing. So yeah, I feel like I'm just always tapped in. And there are other times when people bring certain things out of me, like working with Corey Henry and Snarky Puppy. Like, those guys are all geniuses. Okay, everyone is
Yes.
a genius in their own right. And so when me and Corey got together, and he was like, yeah, I have this idea, why don't you blah 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 sing this over this? And I was like, what? You want me to do what over what? Okay. I'm freaking out because I'm like, okay, this is gonna challenge me, but it's also, it brought another level of creativity, like this, that spontaneous moment in that moment. Like, there will never be a moment like that. Even if you duplicate it and replicate it, it still will never be like that original moment that sparked it. But
Yes.
what comes after the spark is just so amazing and so beautiful, and that spawned little other things and like other bouts of creativity. And so I'm continuously inspired by every single person I've ever collabed with, and like a part of their artistry are connected to me, and vice versa.
Crazy. So you mentioned Snarky Puppy, and I've been to Snarky Puppy shows. I think the
They're still
first
on my
time.
top list of like live shows.
Oh
Like
my gosh! I remember the
live
first time I
club, don't
ever
do
went.
that.
I went
Like,
to Aisle Five,
yep.
and Lil Jon played with them, and
Mm,
he was like, "Yeah, just stand on the side." It's my first time ever seeing them,
yeah.
and I just was like, I couldn't like done
Yep.
afterwards. Um, I was curious because it's like, as somebody watching, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much to indulge in. There's so much depth to the music that you can literally sit there and
Yep.
watch the horns the whole time because
Yes.
it's a complete vibe by itself.
Yeah.
Corey's a complete vibe. Everything like is
Yep.
happening on its own, but like synergized.
Crazy.
So
Yep.
my question for you, because I've seen you in the live performance setting and recording setting
Mm-hmm.
where that is taking place. There's all
Mm-hmm.
that energy being bounced back and forth. How do you still maintain and you know what I'm saying? Because there's so much that's going on around you. Like, what is that like
It's
for
it's
you?
it's complete and utter like sensory overload, but it's crazy because it's like musical crack. It's just like, it's making you go insane, but you can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't stop listening. You can't stop um like breaking it down. Yeah, you can listen to each and every person individually. It's almost like watching like your favorite movie or the best movie, the most well written, most like suspenseful. You watch it the first time and you're great. Your mind is blown. You're like, OMG. But then you watch it the next time, you pick up on something else that you didn't catch the first time. And you watch it again, and it's like you feel the story from different layers, like these parallel universes, and you're like, okay, I understand. I'm getting the complete and full version of this. But yo, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know how I would survive. I'm like, I have to like, it's an out of body experience. Like I literally have to like separate myself and then bring myself back together because
Yeah.
it's so like extraterrestrial at times. And so, you know, when I have to focus, like if I have to sing and be creative in the midst of that, you know, I can do that.
Yeah.
But my brain and like my whole entire being is feeling each and every thing that's happening musically. Like I'm so connected to it. It's insane.
Wow. So does it make it hard to pick a take when you're doing something like
Oh,
that? Because it's
I'm
like
the worst. I am the absolute worst at takes, honey. I will give you 100 of them mugs. You gotta fish through them all. Now sometimes the vibe is right. There's something like you know that you something raw about what you want in a certain situation. But as far as recording in the studio, when I have control over things, most things, um, yeah, I'm like, oh, nah, we got to get this. Because, you know, it takes a little minute for me to warm up, not just vocally, but like emotionally. Like my psyche got to be right. I got to feel the vibe has to be there. Like I can tell when I'm singing and I'm just singing, and I can tell when I'm singing and I'm feeling it.
yeah.
So I want to feel it. Like I want the people to feel it like I feel it.
Do you have a time of day that you like that you kind of can guess like, yo, if I gotta sing,
Yeah,
if I sing at this
the
room,
later the better.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
If
So
you'll
like
give me
1
a
a.m.
in the
late?
morning, well, up until yeah,
Oh wow, okay.
that's definitely what.
Yes.
Yeah, those are my hours of operation. In case no one ever knew. Yeah, I know. Y'all already know how it is. I'm trying to get
Yeah.
better. Yeah, I'm trying to be normal, guys, but it don't be working sometimes.
So all good.
Yeah, if you get me in a morning session, you're gonna get a morning sound, a morning. I'm not saying it's not, I'm not saying it's not possible, but
Yeah.
I'll be very warmed up towards the end of the day.
So talk touring with me for a moment.
Okay.
I that was the first time I believe that I ever saw you was in the context within the context of Amitria and India and that whole and I wanted to ask you about that from a standpoint of every time I've ever seen a show of India, she has does such a great job of assembling people together
Yep.
that work with each other so well. Everyone's got their own vibe, they're bringing that, and it really seems like there's a real family type of connection that develops. I
Yep.
wanted to know for myself and for people who are watching who may be interested, what were some takeaways from, that stretch, both the
Yes.
touring as well as touring with who you were touring with.
Yes. Okay. So that was crazy. Like I did not see that coming. Me getting the opportunity to sing behind India and singing with Amitria, who was already my sis at the time. So it was like a match made in heaven, literally. And I was supposed to be filling in for our friend Matthew because he had to go do a play. And I was supposed to be just filling in for a month. And
Okay.
10 years later, well,
Wow.
was it teen? Yeah, it was teen. It was it was a good amount of change later. Like I was like, y'all never asked me to leave, so I'm still here and I'm trying to
That's
figure
what's
this
up.
out. Like I had to make myself leave. All right, now it's the time. That's a whole nother conversation. Um, but yes, my takeaways. First of all, to be given the opportunity to sing behind somebody that I was already a fan of at the time.
Yeah.
I was fairly young, like 22, and I was like, whoa, this is literally the opportunity of a lifetime. And because Mimi was there and she already got me up to speed, she was like the interim boss, like the overseer. Like she made sure I had all the show stuff right. She made sure we blended well. She made sure everything was good before we got on the road. And so that was cool because I got the training, you know, I was already under her wing at the church, and then
Yeah.
we did the India show, and I got to see what tour life was actually like, and to be able to travel the world with somebody that, you know, was already high on my list of people that I was inspired by was just absolutely insane. It was breathtaking, and I'm really grateful for that opportunity because it allowed me to see all of the behind the scenes. You know, it allowed
Yeah.
me to see how I knew eventually I was gonna branch off and do my solo thing. I just didn't know like when or how. And you know, I started doing solo shows around the same time that I toured with India. So I was experimenting, and it wasn't a overnight thing. It wasn't like, okay, I'm done singing background, I'm a solo artist. It was a very gradual and slow transition, and sometimes at the same time, you know. So,
Yeah.
but I got my grounding there, and I got my footing, and I got my experience, and I got rid of a little bit of the stage fright, which, you know,
Yeah.
hopefully. Um, and it was just insane. Like, even on the business side, you get to see like, okay, what to do, what not to do, where you want to go, what places I want to come back to on my own terms. Like, be going
Nice.
like when you went to South Africa, I went to South Africa with India and the tour. So I was like, whoa, this is insane. I want to come back here. I want to come back here. So it just shows you so much, man. It opens you up. It humbles you, and it allows you to see, hey, you can be background and frontman all at the same time in your, you
Yeah.
know, in your own space. There is a space for you to be on the front line, but when you put in the work and you learn how to be the foundation for somebody, you learn how to fill in the gaps for people, just at the drop of a dime. And one thing, I know we were spoiled. I know we were spoiled by each other because I don't find a lot of situations like ours. It was so unique in that I'm
Yeah.
like, how me and Mimi's blend was crazily similar. I don't know how that even happened. It was just like, it was crazy. And so then when it was me, Mimi in India, I was like, whoa, this is insane. Like, this is not the case everywhere. So we didn't have to necessarily work as hard,
Gotcha.
but it was still something that, you know, trained us up into the people that we are today.
So when you got to the point where you really started focusing on your, let's say, your solo material,
Mm-hmm.
did you do it with genre in mind?
Okay, this was always such a hard question for me to answer because growing up, or coming up, I should say, as an artist, you know, you don't want to be boxed in, you don't want to be
Yeah.
A, B, and C. It was hard for me to classify my own self because I know what I sound like, but I know the variety of the spheres of influence of different genres of music that I have that are, you know, I'm influenced by all kind of music, like across the globe. So it was hard to say, like, what am I? Like, what is this? So yeah, I didn't want to use labels, but I understand those help people identify, and they, you know, they help people to kind of get a little more concrete, or like, what are you similar to? Or like, if I like this, I'm gonna like you. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of gives people a little guide, not saying that you have to be defined by that, because you can't ever be defined really. But it was definitely hard. It's easier for me now because I think I just established my sound, and I just let
Yeah.
people, okay, you can say whatever it is. You can call it whatever it is. Okay, I've heard most people call it this. I've heard most people call it, you know, jazz, R&B, soul, neo. A lot of people wanted me to be neo, straight up neo soul. And there was a time when I shied away from that because, you know, neo soul didn't get the best rap. It
Right.
wasn't taken the most seriously, and it was almost like, oh man, that sound real neo soul. But some stuff was real good, you know. Some stuff was
Yeah.
good, and I appreciated it. You know, I gotta shout out the queens who really started a lot of that movement. You know, Erica Badu, Jill Scott. Um, I gotta shout out PJ Morton because he took the soul vibe to a whole nother level, and I was like, what in the world is this? Like, how can I be part of this? So that kind of opened me up to Yeah, I don't know. So now we're classifying me as jazz with hints of soul, neo. I say neo jazz because to me it kind of gives me the freedom to really do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, that's
I don't
what's
feel
up.
like jazz is limiting for me. So that's what we're rocking with right now.
I love it.
Until
I
further
love it.
notice.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
When you do you feel like musically, um, what you create for yourself as an artist has a connection to your gospel influence or in relationship?
absolutely. Yes,
Got you.
absolutely. Um, and I guess because that was my foundation, and obviously my faith is my foundation of everything that I do. Period. Point blank. So that's like that's the foundation for all of it. And so being in the church and having gospel music as a huge chunk of my influence, um, and it comes out in everything that I do. Like
Yeah.
I'm still to this day like I just got done like binge listening to Ricky Dillard's new record.
Okay.
Shout out
Wow.
to Phil Lassiter who killed the horn arrangements on that project, man. It sounds so good. So like I'm always trying to preach. I'm always trying to sing. I'm always trying to run down. I'm always trying to, you know how it is. Something that like edifies me about that music, much less the message behind it. And so I just want that to resonate in everything that I do. And uh, so I will say this. There was a time when I thought I was gonna be like this gospel only singer, right?
Okay.
And so and it was sweet. Like my intentions were real and genuine. It was like, God, you gave me this gift and I'm just gonna use it for you and you only, blah blah blah. But what I was shown actually at one of my very first shows was that this was a part of my purpose. It wasn't a hobby. It wasn't something that I just liked to do or even love to do. Like this was what I was destined to do. And so with that, you have to realize that sometimes it's going to be bigger than the organization. It's going to be bigger than the four walls of the church, as we like to say. It's going to be bigger than what you may think. And so when my mind was kind of opened and it was a show at Sugar Hill, and I did People Make the World Go Around with Jazz Specs.
Oh,
And I
wow.
have to shout out to those guys because they were pivotal in my music coming out in the Atlanta music scene. They were one of the first people that I collabed with in Atlanta. So
Wow.
I have to shout those guys out because they really brought a lot of stuff out of me. Shout out to Jazz Specs. I love you guys wherever you guys are. Each and every one of y'all. I appreciate y'all. But it was that show that allowed me to see that, like, God can move wherever I am. Like, if you allow that, and if you're open, and if you are purposing it in your heart, it is going to come across no matter where you are. So I took that with me. I was like, okay, I get it now. I get it now. So that kind of just expanded my horizons to, reaching the world.
Wow. That's interesting. I feel like yeah, I definitely feel the same connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of record. I think
Yeah.
people they start to memorize how you make them feel,
Mm-hmm.
and that feeling is what they start to get drawn to the feeling. And if it's a great combination of the feeling and the the text, you
Yes.
know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like it just makes for like really amazing records.
Yep.
Um, you you talked about the horn arrangement of Ricky Dillard's project. I was wondering, just curious, do you have a spirit instrument that, like, if you
Oh,
hear it, you just
well,
gonna be
yes.
gone?
I have many. But in my mind, I'm a whole one woman show child. I'm a whole band. Okay? Let me say it. All right. So, okay, in all honesty, I dabble in keys and I dabble in guitar well enough to write from. Okay.
Okay.
At this particular moment in time. I'm not gonna say it's not ever gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yes, well enough to write. So But man, I am a wannabe percussionist. That's the whole rhythm thing again. Like
Yeah.
I cannot play tambourine or the shaker very well, but my little hand percussions, I got all kind of like Latin beats and sambas, and I love world music. I love music across the globe. So anything that can like just make me move, I want to do it. I'm a closet drummer, closet rhythmic percussionist. I am. I tried to play the bass one time. I think I taught myself this Jamiroquai song, this Big Fine. It
Oh.
was like, really, really jamming. Yeah. I was like, I got too much other stuff I need to focus on. But yeah, I love all of it. I love all the music. I love it all.
So when you're in the midst of performing, back
Yes.
to technique for a quick second.
Okay.
When you're in the midst of performing and you've got your text you're going to deliver, you maybe have your roadmap of how you're going to deliver it. You know, when you're still being open enough to let the atmosphere kind of
Mhm.
influence some of those decisions, how do you like know vocally when you want to stray away a little bit from the original, or whether you want to keep it where it is, or tone choices? How do you make those types of decisions in the midst of a live performance?
Great question. I have musicians around me who get it. And
Okay.
so they're used to me. Shout out to my MD Josh Foster, wherever you are. I gotta shout you out. You're probably not looking at this, but that's all right. I have musicians around me that freaking get it, and so I can go there without fear, without feeling like, oh, are they gonna get this, or are they not? Are they gonna catch up, or are they gonna get it? You know. So doing that. Hey, Peter Collins, I love you. Sorry, shout out to people. I love Peter. He's insane in the
Yes,
Midwest.
he is.
Shout out to him. Um, so yeah, that helps. If I'm not in a space, let's just say I'm somewhere crazy across the world and I wasn't able to take my band with me. If I don't feel like I can go, I'll either break it down and just kind of go by myself if it's necessary,
Okay.
or I'll just kind of come back and kind of like control the board as I see fit. But I'm always experimenter. Like I'm always like, ooh, like especially if something like there's just like a vibe there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's just stay there, and I'll direct on stage like, you know what, we gonna stay here. We just gonna
Yes.
stay right there. So yeah,
Make it
those
sound
are the
so
fun
easy.
parts of that part.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. That trust factor, you know, amazing things can happen when you got that trust right there.
man.
Ooh.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I watched the interview that you did on the Capital Jazz cruise
Oh yeah.
with Eric, and you mentioned it was your first time ever going on a cruise at that time.
Oh, you okay? So you watched the very, very, very first one. Oof.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what I was talking about, Chad. I don't know who I was.
I mean, you were just like, I mean, this is my first you're like, this is my first cruise, so this is like, I can imagine. I've only been on one cruise,
Okay.
and when I first got on the boat, I like got a little seasick at
Yeah,
first.
I got seasick a couple times this last go round.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
really? So how many times have you been out?
Just two, actually.
Okay.
So like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and then I went this last go round, last January. Um,
What's
so
that like, performance wise? Like it is. I've always wondered.
it's cool, man, because there's all these like little pockets and like these subcultures of like what you do on the boat for like those 8 days. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like college on a boat because you get to meet these cool people for a certain amount of time. You're not gonna be with them the whole entire time, but you got your people, and then like you start noticing day by day. You start seeing certain people on certain walkways or on certain floors and certain venues, and the thing that is kind of most not heartbreaking but a little disappointing about being on the cruise is like you can't go to every single show. Like you have to pick and choose. Like, man, do I want to see Sheeta E tonight, or do I want to see Babyface, or do I, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to pick
Oof.
and choose, because there might be some of your homies that are performing in the jazz lounge at the same time as like a huge headliner. So sometimes you have to make the decision, and they've been pretty good about like switching it up from time to time so you can see everything. But that would be the only downside that I see to it. But yeah, it's been super fun, man. Super, super fun.
Good.
Yeah, we'll see when the next one rolls around.
I hear you. What are your
Yeah.
top What are your top favorite cities? Not to, I mean, today. Let's just say today, so no
Okay.
one
Today,
feels
right.
it.
Today. Okay. I love New York. LA has been really growing on me because I've been spending a lot of time there. Got to collab with some really, really cool people this year. It's 2020. Yeah. In January, basically.
Okay.
I spent like a month out there, and we just made connections, had studio sessions. I mean, it was like every day was a new thing, and I really, really like that. So, um I like Dallas, man. Dallas feels like home.
Really,
Dallas,
I've
there's
never
something
been.
about it's man. It's just something about it that just speaks home to me. And this is almost a trick question, because you have favorite places that you like to go or visit or be adventurous in, and then you think about the people that you're connected to there. Like, who are your people in every city? So you might have some real dope connections in like Arizona or Little Rock,
Yeah.
Arkansas, and so that place is special to you for that reason. So I do have places like that, but yeah, I'll say New York, LA, Dallas, Chicago. I'm just naming all the places that I'm affiliated with, but yeah.
Yeah. I, between your first album and your second album, so between Journey to Golden and Soul Empowered,
I'm gonna go. Yes.
how did Chantae, the artist, change?
Okay, that's an easy question, kind of, sort of. So with the first record, Journey to Golden, it took me the longest amount of time to put out because it was totally something else. Like, I was gonna do like this acoustic EP. Me and actually Brandon Thomas
Okay.
were working on an acoustic EP, and so we were working on it, and there was some time that passed, and I was like, all right, I just want to start over from scratch, because I was doing shows, but I got tired of singing the same songs that I was singing. And I was like, I need to refocus and reassess where I am. And like, so I ended up meeting my producer, Jamie Porti, at Apache Cafe a long time ago. Shout out to Jamie. I love you, dude. And so we kind of came together and made Journey to Golden happen. Anthony Dixon was a part of that project. There's so many very, very meaningful people. Snarky Puppy, obviously. So that was cool. It was my first project. It was like an introduction. I felt like it was like an EP slash introduction to me, so called, right? So I think the main difference between Journey and Soul Empowered is that with Journey, I kind of went to musicians and was like, hey, play me some stuff, and if I vibe with it, I'm gonna write to it, right? If
Gotcha.
it
Yeah.
resonates with me, I'm gonna write to it. And some stuff really, really resonated. Mine is For Your Dreams. Like, that was all me. That was me on a guitar. I could only play 3 chords. A guitar that my friends bought me in Nashville. Shout out to Mike Hicks and the whole Nashville crew. And then I wrote that a long time ago. Then I just gave it to Snarky, and they snarkified it. And so that was how that came about. But I went to my musician friends and I wanted them to play things that resonated with me. With Soul Empowered, I poured a little bit more of myself into the music first. I locked myself in my room and I set the foundations. I was like in here, like tracking out with a little MIDI keyboard, like,
Yes.
and tracking it out in a way that made sense, so I could set the foundation musically. And then show my people and then have them enhance what I already did. So it was just more of me. And even though the turnaround was a little fast for me, I wasn't planning on putting out an album that fast. But they were like, you know, I was with the distribution label, and so they were like, yo, Journey did so well. Let's do this next album. Let's do it by this date and A, B, and C. So I didn't necessarily get the amount of time that I wanted to spend on it.
Yeah.
But like we had to make it work with what we had. And so I just pulled from myself. I was like, damn, let's make it happen. Even lyrically, you know, I just kind of experimented with some different levels of like transparency, and just, you know, I was a little more open. And so I'm super excited for the next album.
Okay, so this is a great point in this conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
All right. So before IG cuts me off and I'm annoyed, I want to jump out, jump back in.
Yeah.
We're nice and warmed up. I want to ask a couple of more questions.
Okay.
But we'll come back. We'll talk about new music. Okay. We'll talk about some emotional questions. Yes. And that'll be that. So we're gonna jump out and jump right back in, okay?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. See you in a second.
Yeah. That was crazy. We've been talking for a little minute.
Yeah, we were.
I'm like, yo, why is my battery on 48%? But it's gonna last.
Okay. All right.
I can always plug it up now.
You started talking about the next project. And there was you're like, but this next one.
But wait, there's more.
So
there's more.
I felt a vibe from you when it came to talking about new music. So tell me about that on your own terms. I have no question, just give.
Okay. Yay. Well, let me take a sip of water. It's chlorophyll water. It's very yummy. Okay. Whew. New music. I just feel like I need to breathe in and breathe out because I'm really, really excited about this. It's been a long time coming. Yeah. Even though I did put out a record a couple years ago, I think. A couple years ago. I don't know the exact dates, child. I don't even know what today is, so just forgive me. But I have not been this excited about new music in a long, long time. And yes, so 2020/2021, you know, because things are being extended into, we got a lot going on in this world. So I do plan to release at least some singles in 2020, you know, God willing. If not, we're going to release it when it's supposed to be released. And I'm super excited about that. I am working on a new full-length project, as well as working on some side things with some of my friends, Corey Henry being one of them. Super excited about that. My good friend Michael B. Hicks is going to be the producer of my next single. And I can't wait for that. He's like one of my he's one of my best friends, and I'm just excited to be working on music with him. And it's cool when you can work with your homies. It's cool when you both have had these experiences and these lives and have grown, and just I'm excited to come together and you know, let our powers combine and you know, really, really put our foot in it. And so so 2020/2021, I do know for sure that it will be volume 1 and volume 2, possibly volume 3. I can't say the name of it right now.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's what's
all the information will, you know, as soon as I can, we up in that thing. So yes. I'm excited because it's gonna represent everything that I've been scared to do, whether musically, whether even like personality wise or even influence wise, things that I have suppressed that I didn't know needed to come out because I was just like, this is just a hobby, or I just, I'm just messing around with this. But there are some
Yeah.
things that there are ways in that I want to express myself that can only be expressed in certain ways, and I have to just do it afraid.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I've been there. I was trying to figure out what song was my favorite song. I can't pick a favorite.
Ooh,
Um, it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but
me.
I was listening to the sound,
Oh wow.
and it was real. I was just, I like went back, and I just was listening to it, and it really is resonating with me, you know.
Wow.
And I was curious because you're spelling it out,
Yep.
um,
Hmm.
why do you think it's kind of hard for us to do that, and where do you find your place in encouraging that? Because I know that that resonates with you, both
Yep.
the issues and making sure that you're representing yourself with a certain amount of integrity and
Hmm.
so on and so forth in terms of your purpose and what you believe in. But when
Yep.
it comes to issues that kind of go on in our daily lives, and as musicians, some musicians and singers, they get to the point where they just remove themselves from it,
Yeah.
you know where's your place in that?
Yeah. Okay. So I have definitely been I've definitely been guilty of that uh mindset as far as choosing to not think about something right now because it's just too much. And I like, there are times when you have to look out for your own mental health. But yes, there are times when you're supposed to mourn with those that mourn and feel what they feel in order for you to even empathize with a major like with the slightest bit of integrity or genuineness or authenticity. You have to feel what's going on in the culture. You have to feel what is actually taking place in reality. You have to reflect the times. And so that's so crazy that you brought up the sound, because the only reason I wrote the sound was because I was in the studio recording Soul Empowered, right? On my way to the session at Justin's house. And we had just got done recording a song or writing it out or playing it out or whatever we were doing there, right? And so we were in there jamming in the garage, like we got the music going, we got the studio blaring, we got all the music is up loud, so we don't necessarily hear what's going on outside, right? So as soon as we're leaving from the session,
Hmm.
there is a house across the street with um like caution tape and a
Oh, wow.
literal dead body of a man across the street. And everybody came out, like the cops were all around, like asking us, like, did y'all hear anything? We were like, no, we were just in the studio for like these amount of hours. We didn't hear anything. Like we didn't even hear the sound of this taking place. So that is what I was like, and I couldn't go to sleep. When I got home, I was like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I can't, this feeling is not leaving me. So I was like, okay, I got to write about it. I have to write about it. And so, regardless, we didn't get too much more information. There was a little bit, but either way, it was just like, yo, this is crazy. Whatever the reason, like, we don't know the reason that this person like had to die on that day that we were there in the studio. We don't know. But yeah, so then that just kind of led me, it opened the door for me to talk about
Yeah.
other things and other injustices and other just crazy things that happened that, Like it's okay to feel, and yeah, just kind of wanted to be a voice,
Yeah.
and let's like encourage people to, you don't have to keep silent, you don't have to, and that when we come together and we unify in those voices, like they will hear the sound. So the sound has
So
like
many
a
meaning.
lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
ooh, that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that one in a while, man. I hadn't thought about it.
Has level with me. Has Chantae ever had her heart broken?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna answer it like this. Yes. And it wasn't necessarily like, oh, this person just did me so dirty. It
Yeah.
was, I allowed a certain expectation to to create a reality that was not there. Therefore, when that was not living up to it, like it was like I broke my own heart. Just
So
thinking.
so I mean that's very profound. Um, because it's like, part of, like, right, it's like the feeling that you get a gift is one feeling, but then when you get the same gift and it's a surprise, there's another feeling that's attached to it. So
Yep.
it's like having an expectation of something,
Hmm.
of even love, let's say,
Yep.
and it working out for you. There's that euphoria, but
Yes.
but then
Listen. Woo, you
having the
speaking.
expectation
We
and
have
it
to
not
talk
coming
offline.
out, it's just I just always wonder though, because of some friends of mine, have always said, Cam, the way I do things is I don't have any expectations of anybody, because when you have expectations, that's when you open the door for people to let you down. And I started trying to live like that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty good at that. But there's a ceiling to all my other emotions too,
Yeah. Yep.
And I just wonder if there's a way to tap into that emotion and be able to capture it in a way that is really healing. Because for me, somebody breaks my heart, you gonna
Yeah.
get one kind of record, and that I'm finna be Ginsu knife. Yeah, 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 yeah. But I feel like with this being Mental Health Month, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
In
Yes.
in our community, there's this thing, we don't talk about, like, I haven't spoken to my mother in over a month, and my mom's like one of my best friends.
Wow.
And it's, I grew up in an AME church environment. It's
I
very stoic,
familiar. Yep.
so there's a certain amount of, you know, proper circumstance that you add to everything, and included in that, at least from where I grew up, is this thing where you don't talk about
Yeah.
feelings,
Yep.
and you don't reconcile with feelings that happen to be negative. And that's a common thread
Mm-hmm.
in our community, and it doesn't lead it to anywhere really positive,
No, it is
even
not.
if you suffer in silence, that, like, the result of that,
Mm-hmm.
is never going to be good. And I wanted to know from your perspective, with how do you deal with that
Yeah.
disappointment emotionally? How do you manage to stay up, to
Okay.
be able to make somebody else feel up? Because I turned it on Spotify and I typed your name in, and I just been going down. You know what I'm saying?
Aw.
I've been listening, and I've been up here, and I'm like, man, she's up here. How does she deal with those situations?
Okay. So, there are a couple different factors. The main one, the main one, and not to be redundant or sound overly religious, but I know where my foundation is, and I know that I have got to tap into it. That was the whole meaning behind soul and power. You know, the sun to me represented the creator. And so it wasn't just me being empowered, it was me being empowered by who created me,
Ah,
you know? And so when you tap into that,
yeah.
you know, it's not just you. You don't have to run off of your own strength or your own, you know, shortcomings or your own humanism or humanity. You know, you don't have to rely on that. And it seems harder, but in actuality, it's really easier because you don't have to put so much on yourself. So just constantly looking to God, constantly like plugging in, constantly realigning with my faith it's a daily thing. Like it's not just like, okay, I'm gonna do this for a couple days and then 2 years later, you know, it's something that you have to constantly do, and it's a discipline, and it's not easy by any means. And like, you know, it's never a straight shot. It's like, you know, you're gonna take some detours, you're gonna go some twists and turns. Some things are gonna be voluntary, some things are going to be involuntary, but at the end of the day, you have to be grounded. And on a natural level, having people around you that you can trust and that you know have your back. They literally have your well-being at the forefront of their mind. Like I'm super, super, super blessed to just be able to have people that I can talk to about whatever at any given time. So that really helps me. Like that's my form of therapy. And although therapy is amazing, it's wonderful, it's great for people that don't necessarily have access, you know, having people that you can talk to. And creating is very extremely therapeutic. I've written so much stuff. I don't know who's gonna hear what, but when I write, it's like, or when I got something going on emotionally, I just I was like, I have to create from this because it's so real. Like there's no airs about it. You're not like, okay, I'm gonna write this jamming song and see what's like it's gonna be popping. You're writing from the most pure, authentic, genuine, transparent, and vulnerable place. And so that to me is healing in itself. And I'm like, you just feel so much better after you do that, for me personally.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hopefully I answered your question.
Of course you did. Do you, if you were to talk to your younger self, meaning your high school self or your
Ah,
middle school self,
I would
what
laugh.
would you is there a piece of game you would have given yourself about life
Mm,
at that age that would have
probably.
made anything different?
Yeah, I would have been like, listen, whatever you're worried about, it ain't even that serious. Whatever because I used to struggle really bad with anxiety. And, you know, I've most recently, over the last few years, have made a lot of progress in that area. You know, thanks be to God, there have been situations where it's just been like, all right, you don't have to deal with this no more because this is
Yeah.
not you don't have to do that. You don't have to let it consume you. And so, but back then, I, just the worrying about things that don't matter, like
Yeah.
spending countless moments of time that you can't get back. Like I would have been like, hey, this is what you need to be working on, A, B, and C, and being you in all that you are. Like everything that you are is exactly who you're supposed to be. As cliche as it sounds, like because you're you to the fullest, people are gonna want to be them. And you know, it won't be this. I've never really been good at trying to be something else, you know. Said it in a song, I'm not trying to be something I'm not. So, and when I do, I don't even feel right. Like it doesn't I can't even do it for a long period of time. So yeah, I would say you're gonna be just fine. Stay true to who you know you're supposed to be and your purpose.
Well, So where do you see yourself 10 years from now in terms of career wise? Do you see yourself uh, embellishing on some of the additional influences that you may have musically? Do you feel yourself stretching in that direction, or is it just to continue to be admired as you always have been, or as you always have, admired those things?
I I want to basically be able to do everything that I have been scared to do and beyond music. I want to, and I've said these things on a regular basis because it's just like this is that time, and I know that
Yeah,
the next album is kind of like my theme for the next movement. And so, I want to get into writing books because I know I have a whole lot to say. I got some stories. I got some things that need to be conveyed and that I want to share on a deeper, more personal level, that won't all fit in a song or
yeah,
in a nice little album or whatever. Getting into more creative content, making videos, expanding like the YouTube channel, um, you know, connecting with different brands, expanding. I want to do a camp, a rhythm and vocals camp for kids and adults eventually. Um,
oh yeah, you got you.
Possibly experimenting with acting because I think I would enjoy it. I'm just being scared, but so there are things that I know are going to fuel me and that I feel I need to expand those horizons. Um and even musically, like I feel like wherever I am in that season is going to obviously reflect in my music. So I just have to gather exactly where I am, assess where I am, evaluate when I release music, and I feel like if I'm being true to where I am, then hey, this is a great way to put out music. Like that's the most fulfilling way for me, to put out music is for it to literally equal or reflect exactly where I am and where the world is. And yeah, so
Have you ever thought about doing a gospel album or?
okay, so yes, I know I'm gonna do a worship album and then I'm gonna do a healing album. They might
Okay.
be the same thing, but they might be separate. Um, because I've written so much stuff and I've just been like really, really honing in on like my writing gift. Um, and I've been experimenting with some spoken word slash rhythmical talking type thing. I'm not gonna say rapping because
Oh, good.
I don't want to admit it just yet, but it's a possibility.
I, I, I love how you were talking about honing in on your writing gift because I think sometimes when people are blessed with amazing instruments like vocally,
Mhm.
there becomes this point in time where because everybody around is writing, it's just automatically assumed, oh, I'm a writer
Right.
too, I can write, I can sing and I can make whatever word, give me a regular word, give me supercalifragilistic, I can
Yeah.
make it sound great. So it's like that develops this sense of confidence in writing, and it's a skill and a talent and a gift that needs to be nurtured just as well. So I like the fact that you mentioned that because not everybody would not everybody would think that someone who is able to like sing as well as you can sing and perform as well as you can perform would still say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
focusing on this and honing in on it to make it better. So I
Absolutely.
I'm glad that came out because it can be difficult to try to convince younger artists,
Yeah.
of the route because
Yeah. Yeah.
um
There's
you can
there's
tell.
levels.
Yeah.
There's levels. There's
I mean,
growth.
you spent your time in a serving place, which
Hmm.
is not what everybody is willing to do,
Yeah.
and there's so much that comes out of that. And also, I can tell when people who sing started in the studio and then went to the
Hmm.
stage, or
Yeah.
started on the stage
Hmm.
and then went into the studio. There's something about it. So I
Yeah.
like the fact that you separate the two disciplines
Yeah.
and you're willing to focus in on them respectively.
Hmm.
I wanted to allow you to have the final
The
word. There have been
final
people checking in
countdown.
like, I'm in Transylvania. Hey, I'm in. So I just want to make sure all the folks that have been already tuning in, and there are going to be people who watch this afterwards in a replay format. You know, I just want you to be able to address them and let them know if there's anything they should be looking out for. Any words of wisdom, whatever you want to say.
Let it be, let it be, let it be. All right, no. Um, yes, I
Hey,
want
Lyric
to say,
Jones.
hey, Lyric, love you. I got to see her for a little bit when I was in LA, and it's just cool running into the homies, man, you know, because we go back like four flats. All right, I'm not gonna start. I'm not, see, you started something already. Anyway, I just want to say it's been so much fun with you guys. I hope that you all had a good time. I enjoyed this dialogue with Kameron, and it's just been so refreshingly like awesome. Like you never really know what to expect with the live stream sometimes. So I love when it's a good surprise, you know, how kind of we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank everybody that came out. If you came out to the first half or the second half or both, we really, really, really appreciate y'all and look forward to talking to you guys the next time around. Hopefully, this craziness that's taking place in the world will continue to encourage us to get creative and keep opening up. Like there are no limits. You make the rules. There are no rules, just right. And when you stay true to your purpose, your gift, and the reason why you are put here on this earth, nothing else can take that when you grab a hold to it, you know. So
Yeah.
those are my words of wisdom for today.
Listen, I'm good. I'm about to go write a whole album right now based on that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
got we gotta chat offline. We gotta chat. We gotta
yeah. See, I'm
chat.
trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you now.
we
I'm
gotta
like,
we gotta touch on some things.
well,
You know?
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to encourage everybody to stream everything with Shantae's name on it. You will be blessed every time.
Since you're
Um,
here.
yeah, you know, for Dot and Dot at the end of Vamp,
Aww.
I
That's one of
just,
my faves, man.
it just moves me
That
so
was like my
much.
first favorite song
Yeah.
that I did.
So I'm gonna hit you up and
Please do.
we can talk about being creative. But I'm glad you joined me. I don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
It's these introspective type conversations that really help me, honestly, when I walk
Yep.
away from it. They
Yep.
help me make sense of things, you know, in a
Mm-hmm.
different type of way. And you know, when you're in this industry, sometimes you go through patches. At least me, let me speak for myself. When you know, there aren't a lot of people that you can talk to, and it helps to get an introspective um, outlook from a new person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Absolutely.
there's nothing to be gained, so I'm like, okay, I can be who I am, you know, and get some good information. So I appreciate you
Yep.
hanging out with me, and I look forward to hearing new music and working with you in the future.
Yeah. Let's make it do what it do. My pleasure. My honor.
Oh,
Hit me up anytime. This was super super fun. This is the most that we've talked and I've known you since
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
this is
I was
great.
like, gosh, there's so much I can ask. I mean,
I
you know.
love what you got going on here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the future and
Yes.
everything.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you again. You have a great evening.
All right. You too.
All right.
Deuces.